Hello again, everybody. Zack Attack is here with my TNA Impact Wrestling No Surrender Edition review for the night, Thursday, September 12th, 2013. Alright, my thoughts on tonight's Impact? Pretty good. For No Surrender was pretty good. We had, of course, the Bound for Glory Series semifinals and the finals. My thoughts on the winner, which I'll get to. Okay choice for the guy, but I think it should have been a newer guy, which I'll get to when I get to him. But it was still decent action from that. We had a TNA title match. Plus, this is only part one of No Sweater, like they did with Hardcore Justice. They had the main card matches this week, and next week is the B card, which two matches have been made for next week already, which I'll get to. So, decent night tonight from St. Louis, Missouri. Let's kick things off with Bully Ray coming out with his girlfriend, Brooke Tessmacher, but not accompanied by Tito Ortiz, which I'll get to that also as well, but the reason why he wasn't there, and Rampage too. I noticed both of them were with their respective groups. But there may be some underlying reasons. But anyway, Bully Ray came out talking about this whole Ace and Eights problem with the tension within Ace and Eights, especially boiling with the fact that Bully Ray will be defending his title this evening against Mr. Anderson in a match that Hulk Hogan would add a stipulation later on to in this segment. As Bully Ray's talking about Anderson, set all differences, man. Hogan's the one that's playing us. He wants to break us up, blah, 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 blah. And here comes Hulk Hogan. It's like his name was like a cue to come out. You know, the ego. You know, like, hey, they're calling my name. Ready to come out. So, you come out talking about, yeah, worry about defending your title tonight against one of your brothers. Brother. And of course, that was Mr. Anderson who came out saying that Bully Ray's like, listen, Anderson, I want to end this. I don't want to fight you tonight. I want you to apologize. And it's just like, I'm apologizing for the ass whooping I'm going to give you. Along those lines. Basically, there was no apology for Anderson. He just sucker punched the hell out of Bully Ray. Setting a message for the match this evening was, like I said, Hogan added a stipulation to the matchup, which is a last man standing match made at the last minute. I hate when TNA does that sometimes, when they add last minute stipulations like that without much hype. So, the match was only announced 2 weeks ago, and now they had the last man standing match within minutes in Impact. So, there you go. As we wait for that match, of course, the Bound for Glory Series matches took place. The first semifinal took place. AJ Styles taking on Austin Aries. Now, the two semifinal matches, this is probably going to be the best one. It was most athletic. It was very back and forth action. Very good action from AJ and Aries because they're both evenly matched. They both had a match before, but I think this is better than the first match in the BFD series, to be honest with you. Like I said, they were evenly matched. It was a lot of counters for each other. Both guys are both major high flyers, and the crowd was pretty split too. You know, there was many fans, you know, saying AJ Styles, Austin Aries. It was pretty split down the middle, so it was very intriguing to see the crowd's being split on these two because these two are very popular guys. So they both went for the big high flying moves, and I think one countered the other, or one ducked it. It was like pretty fast paced matchup between these guys. Very intense action, and I like that. There was a couple great spots, including one epic spot near the end, of course, that a lot of people, including myself, are going to be talking about. They had like a counter. Like, both guys were nailing the big moves. Both guys were, like, throughout the evening, were going for the two biggest moves. AJ attempted the Styles Clash a few times, and of course, Austin Aries kept trying to nail the Brainbuster, especially after a huge hit to AJ's head. I think he was going for like a backbreaker move, but it was more focused towards the neck. I think that was Aries getting it from AJ. I think that was that spot there. And then they were like going for great counters. Like even Aries countered a great move of AJ with the Hurricane Rana. And like I said, they were going back and forth in reversals until Aries finally nailed the Brain Buster. Until Aries, after the AJ kick out, the Brain Buster got him in the last chancery. But AJ got nailed in the middle, like like Aries in this tour, like, hit some of the between the years there. And AJ was going for a big splash. Actually, Aries was going for a big splash. Then AJ avoided it. And then Aries was on the turnbuckle. And then Aries got Pele kicked on the apron. Now, this is when the best spot of the match happened. As Aries was hung up on the ring apron for the Pele. AJ got on the ring apron and nailed the Styles Clash from the ring apron. That was insane. I've been a big fan of TNA for a long time. Not all 10 years, but still, I've watched it for about 7 or 8 years since they've been on Spike TV. And I've seen AJ do that move a lot of times. I've never seen the Styles Clash like that ever. On the rope apron. I think he's trying to send a message to TNA. He delivered his own little pipe bomb a few weeks ago, but his contract problems, and now he got that Styles Clash off the turnbuckle. That was an epic Styles Clash. They count the 1, 2, 3 victory over Austin Aries in a very awesome matchup, and the fans were chanting. It was awesome. So there you go. AJ advances to the BMG Series final after a great matchup between him and Aries. Very back and forth. Very, very great matchup. That's probably the best semifinal match. Especially capped off with that epic Styles Clash. Probably one of the best Styles Clashes of all time. It's still playing in my mind. It was just freaking epic. Fucking epic. You know what I mean? It was great. I was like, wow. Wow. I think I was on FB after, and a lot of people commenting on it too. They feel the same as epic Styles Clash. So then AJ, who was the number 1 points leader, following winning the gauntlet last week, he advanced to the finals. Who would advance with him? That led to the second Bound for Glory Series semifinal. Bobby Roode taking on Magnus. Now, of course, Magnus was the points leader until AJ won last week, the gauntlet. So Magnus had a lot to live up to his expectations of being the top guy until he got knocked up by AJ last week. And Roode wanted to make a statement. Now, Roode, it was like a comeback for Roode. So I said, didn't Roode lose his first 3 or 4 matches, and then he kind of lost it? He had that anger tantrum, and then he aligned himself with Kaz and Daniels and really came up in the leaderboard again. Got some big wins thanks to the help of Kaz and Daniels, and advanced into the Final 4 where he is now. And of course, Roode didn't want to waste his second opportunity. Of course, the winner of the very first Bound for Series came right at Magnus from the get-go, coming in to make a statement, coming in with full adrenaline and his heart pumping big time as he nailed Magnus with some nasty punches to begin this matchup in a fury. But indeed, Magnus came flying back, trying to apply the Texas Cloverleaf a few times in this matchup. He did try to get Roode to submit to the Texas Cloverleaf. They should rename it like Kingston Cloverleaf because he's from England, not Texas. Anyway, decent match. I think the semifinal match was decent. I think AJ and Aries' semifinal match was a lot better, but this was not that bad of a matchup, especially following that great match between Aries and AJ. I think these guys did a good job of following it up, though. But anyway, both guys of course jockeying for position, knowing how big and important this match was. Of course, like I said, the winner would take AJ in the final. So, both guys jockeying for position, like I said. Magnus did try for his big submission move, Texas Cloverleaf. Aries' former tag team partner, Roode, did nail his own submission move, that crossface at one point. And Magnus kept giving it to Roode, kept giving it to him back and forth. And Roode was trying to get back in the game following, because it was basically speed against power, because Magnus is so strong. He's a built guy. He's very built. And Roode tried his best to try to get back in the game with some nasty kicks, going for a suplex in the end there. But Magnus countered with a bridge pin and a 1-2-3 victory for Magnus. Yes, I was hoping Magnus would make the final, and now he is in the final. as number 1 and number 2 point getters, AJ Magnus would face off in the final. Following losing the semi, Wood was very frustrated that he lost. He came all this far after losing the first 3 or 4, being down at the bottom of the scoreboard. He finally made a comeback only to lose in the semis. And he's won the Buffalo Glory Series before. So there you go. He was very frustrated, and he and Kaz and his partner, Daniels, all 3, the Eagles, well, their Eagles got the best of them, as they want to make sure that no one, if they won in the final, no one would win the final. And I was fearing they were going to get involved, and they kind of did get involved in the final matchup of the Buffalo Glory Series, which I'll get to when we get to the final match of the BFG Series. Now on to next time involving Ace and Eights as we head towards our World Title match, which is coming up a little soon here. It was like right after this matchup. So we had an Ace and Eights discussion. Now I said this last week on my review last week. I said that the other Ace and Eights members, Knox, Bischoff, and Briscoe, had a big decision to make. Whose side are they going to be on? Are they going to side with Anderson because they hate what's Bully Ray doing to Ace and Eights, or are they going to kiss ass and side with the president? That was a discussion that Bully Ray had with the group before the matchup, because he knows there's been tension around. And then after that, we saw Hulk Hogan talk with not Brooke Hogan, but his other, TNA president, Dixie Carter. Now, like I mentioned, we didn't see Tito come out with Bully Ray. We did see Rampage in the locker room when Magnus was going for his match. Like, before the match, Magnus was in the backstage segment with Sting and Joe, but he didn't see Rampage. Well, Hulk Hogan and Dixie Carter had a little backstage segment saying that the Bellator officials had officially pulled Rampage and Tito from their card until the November 2nd pay-per-view, because those two are going to face off at Bellator. And they got a little physical lately, so they're pulling them. So it's either going to be, there's a lot of speculation, whether it's a real-life situation, or Bellator does want Tito Ortiz and Rampage to West before the pay-per-view not get any seriously injury. Or number 2, it could be a storyline to kill off the MMA superstars being involved in wrestling. A lot of people were very against this MMA thing. I kind of was against it too. When Tito Ortiz was the guy for August 2nd, and when Rampage was like the final member of the Main Event Mafia, I was like, oh my god, MMA guys in wrestling. I love MMA, but come on. I know Ken Shamrock did it back in the 90s, but this is the 2010s. You know what I mean? This ain't the Attitude Era anymore. It's either going to be, like I said, it's either Bellator does want them out, or there's a lot of speculation that they want to disassociate themselves with MMA. They don't want no more MMA guys coming to wrestling. I think they got all the negative response to the MMA guys coming in. I think they want to disassociate with that and kill the storyline off before Bound for Glory. I think that might have been a big matchup. Rampage and Tito at Bound for Glory. I think kind of thought of that too, but that ain't happening. So there you go. Rampage and Tito may be out of TNA, not just for the short term, but probably the long term. With Tito Ortiz not a big factor anymore, whether or not the storyline falls through or not, that led to, of course, Bully Ray having to come in by himself. Well, Brooke Tessmacher Company, and she did get a little bit involved. And of course, the last man standing match against Mr. Anderson for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, Anderson, like a man possessed, came out of the gate swinging for the fences, nailing Bully Ray at the ramp and taking advantage for the first half of the matchup. Really dominant. This was a fight. I think I'm glad Hogan made the stipulation. Even though it was a last-minute decision, I'm kind of glad it made it a last-minute standing match. Made it more physical and violent. And we saw something we didn't see at Hardcore Justice. Blood. Anyway. I'll tell you when the blood came. Anderson just came out, like I said, coming out of the gate, just nailing Bully Ray, nailing him outside the ring, clotheslining him, even nailing his ass with a steel chair, like really destroying him with a chair. Getting really physical with Bully Ray and just really beating the crap out of him in the beginning of this matchup. It looked like Anderson was gonna make a big statement. He's the VP and all of Ace and Eight, or should I say, was the VP. I had a sneaky suspicion he'd be kicked out of this match, and he kind of did. But as Anderson was coming in, of course, Bully Ray came back with his cheap slide moves, little poke in the eye, gave him the advantage for the later half of the matchup. Nailing Anderson, turnabout's fair play, and legal in this case, as Bully Ray was the one that returned the favor to Mr. Anderson by nailing him with the steel chair a few times. Indeed, Anderson came back as well with some big moves, including a fireman's carry, and even parodied, the old, Devon, get the table. He was saying to himself, Anderson, get the table. So Anderson got the table in the play. He set up the table on the corner of the turnbuckle. How pathetic that would be for Anderson to set up the table only to be the recipient, as we would know. Anyway, as Anderson took the chair and set up the table, Bully Ray was trying to nail Anderson with another big kick. He got a big boot to Anderson after he brought the table in and got the big chair shot to Anderson. And then after the break, we had numerous breaks in this. There was very long matches tonight. You had 4 matches, so you had I think every match was at least 20 minutes. After the break, we saw Bully Ray arguing a little bit with her Hebner. And Hebner got pushed by Bully, and then her Hebner couldn't take it, and he kind of pushed Bully Ray, trying to fight him until Bully Ray knocked him out with a punch. With Hebner knocked out and unable to count each man down for the count of the count of 10, you did see some counting attempts when both men, or at least one guy was down. With referee incapacitated at the time, Anderson got to nail the mic check on Bully Ray on the chair. But unfortunately, no referee there to count. Anderson could not win the title without the referee counting Bully Ray down to 10. So as Anderson was trying to get the referee back up to try to count, here comes the other members of Aces and Eights. Knox, Bischoff, and Briscoe. Now, like I said last week, and as I said a few minutes earlier, I was going to be very interested to see whose side are going to side with. Who is Knox and Bischoff and Briscoe going to side with? As they lifted Anderson back up, it looks like they were going to either hit him or hug him. Well, a woman did all the hitting, as Brooke came up from behind and nailed Anderson with a low blow, setting him up for another big move by Bully Ray. And then he got the chain and nailed Anderson with it with the chain, making him bloody. Like I said, we saw blood. So we didn't see it during the Hardcore Justice night. We saw the Hardcore Justice review last month during that Impact. I was very disappointed that there was no blood during that. I didn't make a review for that, but I think I commented on an attack line. But, we saw blood during this. I was like, yeah, finally, blood. And then Anderson still kept getting up, despite all the punishment. Even getting a triple power bomb following the low blow. A shield whip off. Trying to whip up the shield or something. And it was Knox and Bischoff and Briscoe nailing the triple power bomb on Anderson. Despite all the punishment that they were giving to Anderson. The chain and the low blow and the power bomb. Anderson just kept getting up. Blood and everything from the chain. He still got up and still wanted to fight Bully Ray and try to get control of Ace and Eights and get the world title and punish the president of Aces and Eights. Now, I could have predicted that I kind of saw this spot coming. When Anderson got up again after the chain hit, he was up against he was standing kind of by the corner where the chair was. I kind of predicted it, and I was right. I said, I was thinking suspicion that Anderson's going to get speared by Bully Ray through the table. Why on the money? Why on the money? Predicted it. Why on the money? Bully Ray speared the hell out of Anderson through the table in the corner. Me being a big wrestling fan for so long, I can kind of have a sense of when a spot's going to happen. I kind of sensed that spot of the spear was going to happen, and I was right. So with that, Anderson was knocked out, counted down by the referee to the count of 10, unable to get up. That was a straw that broke Anderson's back, as Bully Ray retained the World Heavyweight Championship with a little help from his friends. Oh, Bully won with a little help from his friends in Ace and Eights, and they brought the stretcher out. trying to near Anderson, trying to get Anderson on the stretcher when he did, trying to carry him out on the stretcher. But then Bully Ray carried him as well until he pushed Anderson off the stretcher, taking the neck brace off and nailing the pile driver to Mr. Anderson on the stage. And like I said, I had a sneaky suspicion that Anderson might be kicked out of Ace and Eights, and it kind of was official when after the pile driver, Brooke took Anderson's cutoff. So apparently Anderson's kicked out of Ace and Eights. He's been on it for about I think he's been on it for at least a year. I think he was one of the very first recruits back in the fall of 2012. So now that Anderson's out of Ace and Eights, he's probably more vengeful than ever, especially when he comes back from his storyline injury being written off with the pile driver from Bully Ray. So at that, we had 2 matches made for next week. Like I said, this week was the 4 main matches. The main event still to come. Of course, I'll be talking about the AJ Styles Magnus match in a few moments. But next week, we get the B matches. Mickey James against ODB for the Knockouts Championship next week. I kind of sensed that match was going to happen either this week or next week or at Bound for Glory because of the altercation making an ODB had last week, but it's now official next week. It's for the title. And we also have another match made for next week doing a segment. As Storm and Gunner came out saying, hey, we are drinking like we normally do. And we're watching this event tonight, and we don't want to just sit and watch. We want to get on in the action. We want to fight. So they called out all the teams, but if you got one team that kind of is back together after being in the Bound for Glory series, Hernandez and Chavo came out. Of course, they haven't teamed up as much because of Hernandez's participation in the Bound for Glory series, and now they're back together as a tag team. And they came out saying, oh, we respect you guys. James Storm, you're a great tag team wrestler. Not as good as me, Chavo Guerrero. And he said, Gunner, you're a strong man. You're very strong. Not as strong as Hernandez, my tag team partner. Basically, they're respecting him and dissing him at the same time. And they want to be Bound for Glory indeed, as they challenged Gunner and Storm to a match next week, and they are going to get a match next week, but it won't be for the titles. But it's going to be with big title implications. Storm said they accept the challenge of Hernandez and Chavo. And they said if Hernandez and Chavo wins, they will get a title shot. I thought Bishop and Briscoe was going to get a title opportunity. They beat Storm and Gunner last week. They beat her last week. I thought they were going to get a tag team title shot. But now it's going to be Hernandez and Chavo. Weird. But anyway, so there you go. 2 matches made for next week. But now it's time for the finals of the BFG series. AJ Styles taking on Magnus. Now, this match, the finals, was pretty good. Pretty good main event tonight. Of course, AJ and Magnus jockeying for position, nearly going back and forth with headlock attempts and kind of submission attempts, and they're jockeying because they knew the emotion of this matchup. They knew who the opponent of this matchup. This is it. This is the finals of the BFG series, and AJ Styles going through what he's been through in the last year, not being able to get another title opportunity until this year's Bound for Glory series, and a lot of baggage with it. And AJ wants to, make a statement tonight. And Magnus is the future of TNA. He wants to prove that the future is now, like he said in a promo as he left the locker room for a semifinal match. He was tired of waiting for the future to come to him. He was waiting the future. He was gonna come to the future. So like that. So there you go. And AJ and Magnus were having a decent matchup, kind of back and forth action with some headlock attempts, and of course, it was strength against power, like the Magnus Wood match. Wood being the fast guy, and Magnus being the strong guy. It was basically power against speed, as AJ's fast moves were trying to take down Magnus, but Magnus was still coming back with some big moves with some kicks in the face of AJ. And AJ going for a big knee drop, and Magnus avoided that. And like I said, I was hoping this wasn't going to happen. I was hoping that the egos of Wood, Kaz, and Daniels of losing the BFG series were not going to interrupt this matchup, and unfortunately they did. Jealous of not being in the final, Kaz, Wood, and Daniels came out to the ring to attack both AJ and Magnus in the middle of the matchup. Then the referee didn't call for the bell. He just let this beatdown happen until the referee's broken up, sending all three men to the back. I was like, please don't let this be a no contest. Please don't let this be a no contest. Let's wait till next week to see it. There would have been a big whip-off if this match would have been postponed till next week because it's no contest. Thankfully, after the break, the match continued. Great decision by the referee to not end this matchup because it's too important of a match to end with a no contest. And wait till next week. We already had a screwy ending in the Bound for Glory Series match once. Was it the Bound for Glory Series final in was it last year? With Hardy against Anderson, jockeying for position. I think it was last year's final. It was like back and forth. It was like rematches too, because of the screwy ending. But thankfully, there was no screwy ending here with LJ and Magnus going back and forth. And then Magnus got his own little moves. The pile driver, scoop slam pile driver, nailing AJ with the submission. His submission to Texas Cloverleaf. And AJ countered it with his own move, a Coca Plata, his own little submission. And AJ also set up his own submission following a setup for a Styles Clash again, and Magnus blocking it. AJ got the calf killer on Magnus. And Magnus was like way far from the rope, and Magnus was just trying so hard to crawl to the rope. He finally did. But the damage was done. Magnus was limping a little bit following the calf killer because that calf killer was a... They call that move for a reason. It was a calf killer because, like I said, Magnus was limping after that move with the damage being done on it by AJ. So after getting up for that, Magnus tried a big slam and set up AJ until AJ and Magnus was going back and forth on the turnbuckle. Like AJ knocked Magnus off the turnbuckle. Then Magnus got back up and tried to get control again. You know, jockeying for position on the top rope, going for a big high-flying move for themselves. But then AJ, as Magnus got up the top rope to block AJ from another big move up the top, Magnus got knocked down by AJ, which set up AJ for the spiral tap and a 1-2-3 victory for AJ Styles. That's right, AJ Styles is the winner of the Bound for Glory Series. I love AJ Styles and all, but TNA should focus on pushing new guys. And really pushing new guys and letting them get to their potential. Not just say, oh, Magnus, we're giving you a push. You know, we're pushing you to be a champ, but we're going to make you lose the Bound for Glory Series. You know, the AJ Styles, who's a veteran, whose contract is up. He's had this whole issue with TNA. Now, I love AJ Styles and all, and he had a great performance tonight in the semi against Aries. And it's cool to see him win, especially with the storylines with them, you know, with the storyline and everything. Like I said earlier, with AJ not being able to compete for the world title for about a year when he lost that match with James Storm about a year ago. And, you know, the whole shitty year he had with the storylines and not being able to compete was like the last straw until this year's Bound for Glory. And kind of broke him down mentally, which led to his turnaround as a heel guy. And now it led up to this, winning the Bound for Glory Series with his last laugh. You know, it's like officially laughing at last year that he won big time. But isn't TNA Bound for Glory Series about pushing guys and making them win? Well, Hardy won last year, but he's a veteran, and AJ won this year. Now, someone say, oh, Magnus should not have won. Like, Magnus, some people may be glad Magnus didn't win. Because some people may be like, oh, Magnus should not have won because it's too soon for him. You know what I mean? It's too soon for him. He needs a few more years in him to really put the championship potential. Who did we say that about 2 years ago when he was in the Bound for Glory Series? Then we thought, oh, this guy ain't going to win the Bound for Glory Series. He's only an acting guy. He needs a few more years to achieve his potential. Even I thought he wasn't going to win the Bound for Glory Series. Because I thought, you know, it was too soon for him. That man was Bobby Roode. And he became a big fucking star in the Bound for Glory Series. And he had great performances in the BFG Series. And I thought Roode had no chance of winning. But they pushed him really good. He did lose the Bound for Glory Series, Bound for Glory match against Kurt Angle at the pay-per-view. But he did win a title a few weeks later against James Storm. But still, Roode showed full potential. Finally. That's the thing with Magnus. Magnus needs to show his full potential. If somebody said he didn't show it, or still needs a few more years before he deserves the championship, but it's now. Like I said, the future's now. That's why I'm so stunned they picked AJ Styles to win. I think Magnus should have won. Because it would have been a great main event for Bound for Glory. Have Ace and Ace against Main Event Mafia be the main event of the Bound for Glory pay-per-view instead of AJ Styles. So, that would have been a bigger booking. Ace and Ace against Main Event Mafia for the World title. That would have been a bigger storyline booking. That would have been a better match because of the booking and the hype. The final showdown between Ace and Ace and Main Event Mafia. But it's AJ against Bully Ray. But that also makes sense too because AJ was offered to be an Ace and Ace at one point until he declined it. So that also makes kind of sense too. But it would make more sense to put Magnus in there against Bully Ray because of all the storyline and booking and all the hype that would go along with it. With Main Event Mafia against Ace and Ace. So I love AJ winning, but I think Magnus should have won because even though some people say Magnus needs to achieve his full potential before he gets to be a main event guy, we thought the same thing about Bobby Roode. We thought he didn't deserve to win the BFG series. We thought he was just a tag team guy and needed a few more years of experience, a few more years of being a singles guy. But then he won the series and he proved us all wrong and he became a big star out of it. He became a star. He became the hit factor after winning the BFG series 2 years ago. So back to AJ Styles celebrating. And he got the mic saying a lot of people were very commented on what I said a few weeks ago. A lot of people commented about my statements 2 weeks ago. Except one person that I sent my grievances against. Dixie Carter. I dropped a lot of things in my statement. He said that I made a lot of complaints and a lot of mistakes that TNA's made. But there's one mistake, one big bombshell, a pipe bomb that he wants to deliver that he hasn't shared yet. He said, next week, Dixie, next week is your wake-up call. Because he's got something to say next week, a big secret he wants to tell. So, there you go. We have AJ Styles winning the BFG series and going to deliver a big pipe bomb of his own little ways to Dixie Carter next week. And also next week, those went in part 2. We have Mickie James against ODB for the Knockouts Championship. And James Stormagano in a non-title action against Javon Hernandez. Which could be a big match for Javon Hernandez. Because if they win, they will get a future title shot against Gunner and Storm. So that is it for my TNA Impact Wrestling review for tonight. I'll see you all later. Excuse me there. With that in mind, you've all been attacked by the new review from Zach. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. Yeah.